It has been a remarkable career in the world of tennis as Novak Djokovic gets closer to yet another Grand Slam title. Currently on 23 major titles, the Serbian is the most successful men's singles player of all time. But is he the greatest tennis player of all time? Hello and a warm welcome to this edition of WION Podcast. I am Aditya Pimpale, and joining me today in this Wimbledon Fest is Abhinav Singh. So, hello Abhinav, hope you are doing well. Yet again, the Wimbledon Fest is around and there is only one talking point that we could have Novak Djokovic yet again in the semi-finals. And probably he could win yet another Grand Slam. No prize for guessing, but is he one of the best players that you have seen?
Yeah, he should retire now. He has won enough. I'm a Federer fan. I do not want him to win anymore. But yeah, jokes aside, he has, I can say, one hand on the title yet again. He has to pass the Sinner test in the semi-finals. But seeing the way he has been playing throughout the tournament, dropping only 2 sets, it looks highly, highly possible that he may once again win the trophy at the center court.
We are talking about the trophy as well. You know, he has that illustrious record at Wimbledon as well. But since we are talking of being one of the greats of the game, he actually has won all the tiebreaks as well in the Wimbledon this time around. So another record for the record books. But 24 Grand Slam titles currently held by Margaret Court. And it is inevitable that Novak Djokovic at this age, he still has 4-5 Grand Slam titles with him. So surpass that number.
Yeah, even if he doesn't get this Wimbledon, which looks highly unlikely, he has the age by his side. And unlike his peers, you can talk about Federer or Nadal, at the back end of their careers, they were plagued by injuries. Nadal, we can hope for him to come for one last dance in the French Open, possibly next year. But with Djokovic, you can see him going another 1 or 2 years, or more than that perhaps. And because it's his fitness that has taken him this far, and it is his fitness that has propelled him when at one time he was the third best player in the world behind Federer and Nadal.
Of course, we will just have a recap, why he was the third best player. I still remember 2010, Rafael Nadal completes a career Grand Slam. He wins the US Open. He beats Novak Djokovic, incidentally, in the final in 2010. Roger Federer in 2009, he completed his career Grand Slam. At the start of 2011 at the Australian Open, both were at the peak. Novak Djokovic only had 1 Grand Slam title, but he went on to win that Australian Open. He had a stellar run after that. He never looked behind. And today, at this very particular moment that we are speaking, he has more Grand Slam titles than Nadal and Federer. No one would have anticipated that back in 2010. So it has been a remarkable run for him. I think it has more to do just not with the fitness, but something that you call as ability and that inner belief in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when you see his interviews and conversations around, he always says that when he was losing those games, that period around 2009, 10, 11, when he was losing to Federer and Nadal, he constantly said that he looked up to them and tried to imbibe their qualities. And because he has this mental toughness, he managed to, you can say, trump them around 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. And possibly this is the reason why he has stayed around for much, much longer than them. Because he has that physicality. He has been on that strict diet for years. And because of his abilities to dig in, and of course his tennis ability that is beyond par excellence that you can say, I think it is his mental toughness that has taken him this far.
Yeah, I still remember, 2021 French Open final. He was trailing 2-0 against Stefanos Tsitsipas. He came back from 2 sets down to win that match. He wins the French Open as well that time. But you were talking about his fitness regime. He also has a very strict cryogenic regimes as well. After the match, he goes into a room that is in minus temperature, and he just lays down, and he has that cryogenics done. Some of the other sports people like Virat Kohli have also adopted to that that thing. But apart from that, fitness has been a great thing. We talk about the dominance of players. There has always been an era, but tennis fans always say that there has never been a big dominant era like Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. But Novak Djokovic. He didn't play 3 Grand Slam in his peak, there was no Wimbledon in 2020. In 2022, I guess, he didn't play in the US Open, Australian Open. So he could have added more Grand Slam titles to his tally.
And yes, that explains the greatness of the man even more. And it shouldn't really bother him because, again, as I've said, he has got 2-3 years more. And with I don't see a lot of competition coming apart from probably Alcaraz. You can say Sinner and all, Tsitsipas coming up, Zverev, but they don't seem on the same level as Djokovic. You can hope that a player like Alcaraz keeps up with his fitness and reaches the level of his fellow countryman Nadal. But yeah, there's still a long way to go. And as Djokovic said after the quarterfinal game, nobody ain't winning this title.
Okay, no one ain't winning. But interesting fact, you didn't mention one name, that was Daniil Medvedev. He's the only, he remains the only player who has defeated Novak Djokovic in a Grand Slam final, 2021 US Open, and that was the only major occasion that he could have won a calendar Grand Slam, which hasn't happened in the men's game since 1969 when the great Rod Laver of Australia did it. It hasn't happened in the game of tennis since 1988, since Steffi Graf won all the 4 Grand Slam plus the Olympic gold medal, that is the Gold Slam. So it is an unique achievement. I will come to that point. He has won the Australian Open. He has won the French Open. He is most likely to win the Wimbledon. Can he do it in 2023? Can he win the calendar Grand Slam?
One would hope so. He has been phenomenal on the hard courts, and US Open has been his bread and butter, I think. And yeah, of course, why not? As for Medvedev, or for any opposition player that wants to win against him, I think you need to play your best tennis on that and hope that Djokovic is not at its 100%, because I think that's the only formula that can be applied to beat that Serbian guy.
That Serbian guy, and probably he wasn't at his best in 2021 US Open final. But more interestingly, we have laid up comparisons to Roger Federer. You have seen a lot of Roger Federer. I have seen a lot of Roger Federer. But has he just established being the greatest player? He wins the Wimbledon. He will have 8 Wimbledon titles. That is equivalent to Roger Federer's tally at the Wimbledon. He already is the greatest men's player at Australian Open with 10 titles. So statistically, Novak Djokovic is better than Roger Federer. But do you still think that since he has stamped his authority, is he a bigger player than Roger Federer?
Again, I would say statistically, yes, he's bigger than Roger Federer, Nadal, and anyone else that came before them. But there are certain other ways that how you can compartmentalize a person to be the greatest ever in their field. Djokovic certainly statistically, but if you say the impact of a person on that game, beyond that game, you say Federer and Nadal have inspired countless people beyond their sport. And again, it's down to very personal choices, but if you factor in that vaccine controversy, it certainly takes some sheen out of Djokovic's greatness. Again, it's a very off-topic discussion that we can have another time. But again, I would say, yes, statistically, he's the greatest. But is he the greatest ever tennis player? I have my doubts.
Okay, you have your reservations for that. But more interestingly, okay, I will just throw a wind to the question. Is he the greatest hard-court tennis player? Federer, I can give it for Wimbledon. Nadal on clay court. Is he the greatest hard-court tennis player?
Yeah, of course. And I'm pretty sure you must have the facts on the ATP tour. And he must have, bombarded the players, the opposition. So yeah, we can say that he's probably the greatest player on the hard courts.
Okay, he probably would be the greatest player on hard courts. But Abhinav, since we are running out of time, my final question yet again, is he the greatest player of all time?
Again, you are putting me in a bind. I have already given my version. Djokovic has that ability to dig in, But I do miss that backhand of that Swiss guy.
Okay. Even I miss that backhand of the Swiss guy. But if he wins the calendar Grand Slam this year, he will have achieved everything in the game of tennis. So
yeah, you have to give it to him. But again, for me, greatest ever, that title transcends the impact you have on sport. That is the human impact that you have on individuals outside that sport. I would like to be Federer, but if I have to pick up that tennis and go into the professional arena, yes, possibly I would really like to be Djokovic.
Okay. So, Abhinav, that was it. In fact, that was as similar as having Sourav Ganguly being revolutionizing the Indian cricket, but it was Dhoni who won the ODI World Cup. But never mind, we all have our reservations, and the great Roger Federer always will have a great tennis fan. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the time that we had for this edition of WION Podcast. Hope you have liked this on our tennis edition, and we will come back to you with more of this podcast. Do write us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram handles as well. For now, we are running out of time. Join us again next time. Until then, from me and the rest of the team, goodbye and thanks for joining.
Do tell your goats in the comments.